My father clinked his $2,000 glass of Chateau Margaux and announced to 300 people, "Me, my daughter, a total waste of good genetics." The crowd laughed. He thought he'd humiliate me into silence. But hidden under my sleeve was a wireless microphone. And in 30 seconds, I was about to turn his $25 million charity gala into a federal crime scene. He wanted a show. I gave him an execution. Intro call to action, 15 to 20 seconds. If you've ever been underestimated, dismissed, or treated like you didn't matter, hit that subscribe button. Like the video if you know the sting of being humiliated by someone who should have protected you. Because this is a story where justice doesn't tiptoe in. It kicks the door down. The last laugh from the audience still echoed when I stepped out of the shadows. My heels clicked against the marble like a countdown. People assumed I was approaching the stage for a tantrum or maybe an emotional meltdown. That was the daughter my father expected, the quiet failure he'd sculpted through years of cruelty. But that daughter was long gone. The room shifted. First curiosity, then tension, then a silence so heavy it felt like a physical object settling over us. I walked straight toward him, past the chandeliers glittering like a million eyes. My father's smile faltered, then vanished completely. I took the microphone from his hand. He didn't resist. He couldn't. He was too stunned to imagine I'd ever take the stage from him. I turned to the crowd, politicians, surgeons, CEOs, donors, every person he'd invited to admire him. My father is right about one thing. I began, steady cold. I do work with the state's most vulnerable. But he left out my job title. The crowd leaned in, confused. I am the senior program officer for the state health fund. And I am the sole signatory with veto power over the $25 million grant Dr. Marcus has been begging for since January. The room froze. I watched my father's soul leave his body. The arrogance evaporated from his face, replaced with a chalky gray terror. His wine glass slipped from his fingers and shattered, red bleeding across the marble like a crime scene preview. But I wasn't done. I lifted a sleek black folder and flipped it open with the confidence of a prosecutor. "Let's talk about this proposal," I said. "A Center for Dignity Recovery. Sounds noble." I scanned the first page, even though I'd already memorized it. But according to the line item audit I completed this morning, 80% of the budget is allocated for facility upgrades, specifically imported Italian leather furniture for executive offices and marble flooring for the VIP lobby. Yet not 1 cent for patient beds. Gasps from the front row. Whispers rippled like electricity. I flipped another page, sharp, loud, deliberate. Section 4. Administrative transport. $300,000 for 2 luxury SUVs. For a non-profit serving the homeless. My father swayed. He looked like a malfunctioning animatronic, mouth opening and closing without sound. "This isn't a medical facility," I declared. "It's a retirement plan disguised as charity." Then the final blow. "Dr. Marcus, your application is formally rejected due to gross financial mismanagement and attempted fraud. You will never see a dime of state funding. Not now, not ever." I dropped the mic. The boom echoed like a gavel. I walked off the stage. The applause never came because they were too shocked to breathe. For 29 years, I'd been invisible. Tonight, I was undeniable. 10 years earlier, in the library of his estate, mahogany shelves crackling fire, my father held my acceptance letter to the top social work program in the state. He didn't smile. He didn't congratulate me. Instead, he crushed the letter in his fist and tossed it into the fire. "You want to be a janitor for human refuse?" He'd sneered. "Go ahead. But you're dead to me the moment you walk out that door." I left anyway. I worked double shifts. I skipped meals. I lived on ramen, caffeine, and a stubborn refusal to be what he said I was. He never checked in. Never cared. Never asked. And that was his fatal mistake. He assumed neglect would break me. But fire doesn't only destroy. It forges. While he built his empire of vanity surgeries and donor-funded ego projects, I climbed through the ranks of the state system. Caseworker, district manager, state board. By the time his fraudulent grant crossed my desk 6 months ago, I was no longer the powerless girl he'd thrown away. I was the gatekeeper of everything he wanted. I could have rejected it quietly, but quiet wasn't justice. He loved theatrics. So I weaponized his own stage. After the mic drop, I pushed through the heavy service doors into the cold staff corridor. I finally exhaled. But peace is never guaranteed when dealing with monsters. The door slammed behind me, so hard the frame shook. He stormed in, breath ragged, sweat streaking down his temples, tuxedo askew. "You stop right there," he roared, his voice stripped of charm and polished veneer. He grabbed my wrist, iron fingers, digging bruising. "You think you can humiliate me? In my house? In front of my donors?" I stared at him with clinical detachment. "Let go." "Or what?" he hissed. "You'll write another report? You ungrateful brat. I gave you life. I put a roof over your head." There it was. The narcissist's greatest hit album. It wasn't about money. It was about hierarchy. He was the sun. I was supposed to orbit him. But tonight, the moon had eclipsed the sun. I jerked my arm free. He stumbled back. "You think this is over?" He snarled. "I have an insurance policy." He pulled out his phone, eyes gleaming with cruelty. "Your grandmother. If you don't delete everything, I'll stop paying for her nursing home. She'll be on the street by morning." He smirked like he'd just checkmated me. "Call them," I said. He dialed. Disconnected. What did you do?" "She's not at Shady Pines," I told him. "I moved her last Tuesday. The Kensington. 1 year paid in full." His mouth fell open. A lifetime of assumptions shattered behind his eyes. "You never bothered to see me," I said quietly. "You were too busy worshipping your own reflection." He tried one last trick, lifting a bottle from the service cart and pouring wine into a glass with shaky bravado. "This wine? The lobster? The hotel? All paid for by the foundation," he bragged. "I live above the rules." I didn't react. I just lifted my phone and showed him the high-res photos of invoices, menus, wine lists, all tied to the foundation's accounts. His hand trembled. The wine sloshed. The mask cracked wide open. "You are the institution," I agreed softly. "And that's why you're going to prison." He stared at the screen, horrified. "What are you babbling about?" "Self-dealing," I said. "IRS code 4941. You use charitable assets for personal gain. Tonight's gala isn't a celebration. It's tax fraud. It's embezzlement. Combined with the shell companies in your proposal, it's RICO." His skin turned gray. "And moments ago," I added, "as you bragged about your black fund, I uploaded everything to a secure server shared with the IRS Criminal Investigation Division." "You wouldn't," he whispered. "I already did." His phone slipped from his hand. He sank to the floor. "Please, I have money. I can fix this." "You can't fix a spotlight," I said. And I just turned it on. I showed him my screen, a call already in progress. Special Agent Miller, IRS Criminal Investigation. He'd been listening for 3 minutes. My father's soul hollowed out. He became a shadow of himself. Behind me, boots thundered. Federal agents rushed in. The king of surgery, the man untouchable for decades, was finally cornered. And the only thing louder than the agents shouting orders was the sound of his empire collapsing. I walked out into the rain-soaked night as agents swarmed the hallway behind me. Sirens wailed, doors slammed, voices barked legal commands. My father's voice, small, cracking, pleaded for mercy he had never given anyone else. For the first time in my life, his voice didn't control me, didn't haunt me, didn't define me. It was just noise, fading and irrelevant. I got into my modest car and dialed my grandmother. "It's done," I told her. "And him?" she asked, trembling. "He can't hurt us anymore." The ache in my chest loosened. Not joy, just the relief after cutting out a tumor. I didn't look back at the hotel. There was nothing left there worth seeing. People like him believe power makes them untouchable. But the truth always lands. And when it hits hard. Sometimes being overlooked is your greatest advantage. People dismiss ghosts until the ghosts walk through walls. By the time they notice you, it's too late. Checkmate has already been set. If you felt that rush of justice, hit like. Subscribe for more stories where power meets its match. And tell me in the comments, has anyone ever underestimated you? Your story might be the next one we bring into the light.